Hey, this is Miss G. So I wanted to talk to you about next Wednesday. So this is my recording for Monday, and next Wednesday you will have a test. So let's talk about what's going to be on that test. You're going to have decimals, you're going to have fractions, and we know that they are negative and positive numbers. So we have things we need to remember. So with both of those, we need to remember our rules. Same sign equals sum, which means we need to add. Different signs equals difference, which means we need to subtract. Now we know that also if we're adding or subtracting decimals, that means that we need to always line our decimals up. And also if we are dealing with fractions, we always have to have the same denominator. Every single time you need the same denominator. We never add or subtract our denominator. We always find the common denominator, and then we say, Red Rover, send that common denominator right over. Never add or subtract that denominator. So we know that when we're dealing with fractions that we need to follow the rules, which means first, check to see if you have a common denominator. If you don't have a common denominator, then you need to find one. And an easy way to find that is just to multiply the two bottom numbers. The next rule is, once you find your common denominator, check to see, is it adding? Because we know we can't follow our rules if it's not an addition problem. So if it is a subtraction problem, we need to change it to the opposite. And whatever we do to that middle number, we have to also change the next number to the opposite. After that, you can check your signs, and if your signs are the same, you're going to add. If they're different, you're going to subtract. And last but not least, we always keep the sign of the number with the largest absolute value. So Wednesday is your test, which means you need to be studying your notes. And remember, it will have decimals and fractions on it. And then after Wednesday, we will begin multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So remember, all of this is only for adding and subtracting. You can't let it fall out of your head. I tell my kids every year, don't let it fall out of your ear, because we're going to be using it all year. So it's very important that you're remembering how to do these and not just doing it for the test and then letting it go. So let's get started on our review today. We'll be reviewing today and tomorrow, and I have prepared a Kahoot for tomorrow, but today we're going to work on refreshing our memory on adding and subtracting decimals, and also adding and subtracting mixed numbers, because we've practiced that a couple of days, but we're going to practice it a lot today. And then you will have activities that you need to submit to me. So let's get started on our review. Let me get this box out of the way. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to start with decimals. So we know that if we have like negative 6.2 plus 8.251, we know that when we see this, that this is actually a positive. And usually we see it written like this, but if there's no parentheses there, it's still a positive. So the first thing we always check is it adding? And it is. And I've told you before, I like to see it like this so I can compare my signs, but I like to add by putting it vertical. So first thing I'm going to do is check my signs. My signs are different, which means I'm going to subtract. So I need to put the larger number on top, 8.251, and I'm going to subtract 6.2. And you notice I lined my decimal signs up, and I'm just going to put placeholder zeros here just to hold that place. Now all I need to do is subtract. So 1 minus 0 is 1. 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down your decimal sign, and 8 minus 6 is 2. So my answer is 2.051, or if we said it correctly, we would say 2 and 51 thousandths. Now, I cannot forget to put my sign. So I'm going to choose the sign of the largest absolute value, which is positive. On your test, you will have to know if it's positive or negative, or it will be wrong. There's a huge difference between positive 2 and negative 2. So make sure that you are paying attention to your signs. Let's do another decimal. But this time I want to do something a little different. Let's say we have 60 minus negative 5.63. I know that this 60 is positive. Now you're thinking, but where is the decimal? Well, we know if we have a whole number that the decimal is on the end. So this would be 60. And the decimal would be on the end, and we could put a 0 on the other side and it's still going to say 60. So now we would go about our business as usual. First, check to see, is it addition? It is not addition, so I need to change this. You will not do anything to your first number, but you do need to change this to the opposite, which is positive. And once you change that, not positive, I'm sorry, add a plus sign. Once you change that to a plus sign, you have to change this to its opposite, which is positive. And now we can follow our rules because now we have an addition problem. So I'm going to check my signs. Positive and positive means they're the same. And now I'm going to add. So 60, and remember, if it's a whole number, your decimal goes to the right, plus 5.63. And again, I'm just going to put zeros here just for placeholders to make it look right. Now, I can add now. 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 plus 6 is 6. Bring down your decimal. 0 plus 5 is 5, and 6 plus nothing is 6. So my answer here is 65.63, which is the same thing as 65 and 63 hundredths. And I'm not going to forget to go back and find my sign. Positive is my greatest absolute value. The 60 is the greatest absolute value, so my answer is positive. Let's try another one. Negative 10.2198 plus negative 4.2. First thing I'm going to do is check, is it an addition question? It is. So that means I can check my signs. Check both of your signs. If your signs are the same, that means you're going to add. So, like with all decimals, you have to line your decimals up or your answer will be wrong. Plus 4.2, and I'm just going to put in placeholders here so it looks right. Now I'm going to add them together. 8 plus 0 is 8. 9 plus 0 is 9. 1 plus 0 is 1. 2 plus 2 is 4. Bring down your decimal. 0 plus 4 is 4, and 1 plus nothing is 1. So my answer here is 14.4198, or 14 and 4,198 10,000ths. And I go back and I check to see what my sign should be, and it is negative. Everything we've done, I don't see any issues with decimals. So I am going to leave this with you with the decimals, and we're going to move on to those fractions because the fractions are what give us the most nightmares, right? So let's move on to fractions. And we're going to practice with mixed numbers. So let's say we have 2 1/4 plus 7/8. And we know that that is positive 7/8. 2 1/4 plus 7/8. Now, the first thing I see here is that I have a whole number, and that makes a mixed fraction. And I know for my rules, I always check my common denominators, but we have a mixed fraction here. So first, with these kind of problems, we are going to turn this into an improper fraction. So we're going to do what we call around the world. And we do 4 times 2, do the bottom first. 4 times 2 is 8, and then 8 plus 1 is 9. And you keep that denominator, which is 4. I'm going to bring the rest of my problem down, plus 7/8, positive 7/8. Now I can start with that rule checklist. Are my denominators the same? My denominators are not the same, so I need to find a common denominator. And I notice that 4 times 2 is 8, so I would only have to convert one of them. But if you didn't notice that, absolutely you could say 4 times 8 is 32 and use 32, and you'll still get the right answer as long as you keep simplifying. So it doesn't matter what common denominator you use, as long as it is a true common denominator and not a wrong multiple of 4 or 8. So I'm going to use 8. So I'm going to convert this one to an equivalent fraction. 4 times 2 is 8, and whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 8 times 9 is 72, and 2 times 4 is 8. Now all I need to do is bring down the rest of the problem. Now I'm going to go back to that checklist. Do I have the same denominator? I do have the same denominator, so Red Rover, send that 8 right over. Don't do anything to that 8. Please don't add or subtract that 8. Just bring it on over. Now I'm going to check my signs. I see that this is positive and this is positive. So my signs are the same. Same means I'm going to add. 72 plus 7 is 79. And it is positive. 79 over 8 is an improper fraction, which means I'm going to have to convert it. So I'm going to divide the top by the bottom. 79 divided by 8. I know that 8 times 9 is 72. Subtract, and I get 7. 7 is less than 8, so that is my remainder. 9 and 7/8. So I'm going to come back over here and put 9 and 7/8, and it is positive, and that is my final answer. Let's try another one. This time let's do 10 and 6/10. Let's make it negative. Negative 10 and 6/10 minus negative 2 and 5/12. It doesn't matter that we have two mixed numbers here because we're going to convert them both to improper fractions. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do around the world here. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 plus 6 is 106. And you're going to keep your denominator, and you're going to keep your sign. Negative 106 over 10 is the same thing as negative 10 and 6/10. Now I need to convert this. 12 times 2 is 24. 24 plus 5 is 29. Keep the same denominator and keep your sign. And then go ahead and bring the rest down. So now I have a problem that looks more like what we've been doing. Now I need to figure out what is my common denominator. I know there is a common denominator of 60, But if you didn't know that, you could absolutely use the common denominator of 120, which is these two numbers multiplied. I'm going to do 60 because I know that 60 is a lower multiple and it will be less converting on the other end. But absolutely, if you wanted to use 120, you absolutely could. So I'm going to go with 10 times 6. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 6 times 10 is 60. And 6 times 106, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to come over here and do this. 6 times 6 is 36. So 636. And don't forget your sign. Always go back and check for those signs. Bring down the minus sign. Now I need to convert this side to a common denominator of 60. I know that 12 times 5 is 60, and whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do the top. So 12 times 5 is 60, and 29 times 5, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to go over here. 29 times 5 is 145. And again, bring that sign. Now, I can do my checklist now. Do I have the same denominator? I do. So Red Rover, bring 60 right over. Bring that 60 over. Now, my second check is this an addition problem? It's not. So that means I need to change it to an addition problem. So I'm going to change this minus sign to a plus sign. And if I change this one, I have to change this to its opposite, which is also a plus or a positive. Now, I have a common denominator. I have an addition problem. Now I can check my signs. My signs are different, which means I'm going to subtract. So, 636 minus 145. 6 minus 5 is 1. I need to borrow. 13 minus 4 is 9. And 5 minus 1 is 4. So I'm left with 491. And I go back to check what has the greatest absolute value, and it is this negative. I can't leave this the same. It's improper. I can't leave it like that. So 491 divided by 60. 6 will go into 491. I'm going to say 8 times. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 6 is 48. 1 minus 0 is 1, and 9 minus 8 is 1. So I'm left with 8 and 11 sixtieths. And again, don't forget your sign. So my answer is negative 8 and 11 sixtieths. We're going to do a couple of more, and then I'm going to let you get started on your assignments for today. What if we have 12 and 5/7 plus 9/8? First of all, I know that this is positive, and I know that this is positive. Whether it's written there or not, it's positive. And we usually see it like this, but if those parentheses are not there, that's okay. First thing we need to do is around the world. 12 times 7 is 84. 84 plus 5 is 89. And we bring our denominator, and we also bring our sign, which is positive. Bring down your plus sign and bring down the rest of your equation. Now I'm going to follow my checklist. Are my denominators the same? They are not. So I'm going to use the common denominator of 56. And I got that by 7 times 8 is 56. So how do I get from 7 to 56? I say 7 times 8. And if I do the bottom times 8, I have to multiply the top times 8 also. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 89, I don't know that, so I'm going to go up here and do 89 times 8. 9 times 8 is 72. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 plus 7 is 71. I don't know, I had to count. 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71. So it is 712. I have to think too sometimes. Okay, now plus 9. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to convert this. 8 times 7 is 56. And 9 times 7 is 63. I almost forgot what I was doing. Okay, this is positive and this is positive. Now I check to see, do I have a common denominator? I do. Red Rover, bring 56 right over. Is it addition? It is, so I don't have to change anything. Check my signs. They're both positive, which means they're the same, and I'm going to add. So 712 plus 63 is 775. And I'm going to keep my sign of my largest absolute value. I cannot leave it as an improper fraction, so 775 divided by 56. 56 will go into 77 one time. Bring down that 5. And I'm going to try 2 here and see if that's enough. 2 times 6 is 12. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. I wonder if I could have done 3. Let me do 56 times 3. Let me do 56 times 4. Okay, so I need to use 3. So let me start over. 775 divided by 56. We have 1. 2. I'm telling you what, it's been a long day. I'm getting tired, I think. 215. Okay, and then I can do that 3 times. Now let me subtract. 15 minus 8, that should be 7. 47. So 47 over 56. So 13 and 47, 56. And I go back and check. It is positive. Don't forget your sign. Positive 13 and 47, 56. Let's do one more. This time I'm going to do this. Negative 10 plus negative 5/8. And you're saying, Miss G, there is not a fraction there, but we know that all whole numbers are fractions as long as you put them over a 1. Now, do I have the same denominator? I don't, so I need to find one. I'm going to use 8. So how do I get from 1 to 8? I multiply it times 8. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 10 is 80. Don't forget your sign. Bring down your plus sign and bring down negative 5/8 because it's already 8. Check your denominators. They're the same. Red Rover, bring 8 right over. Check to see if it's addition. It is. So I can check my signs. They are the same, which means I'm going to add, and I'm going to get 85. This is an improper fraction, so I need to convert it. 85 over 8. 8 will go into 8 one time. You're left with 5. It won't go in at all. And you're left with 5, so it's 10 and 5/8. Check your signs. It is negative 10 and 5/8. That is your final answer. Okay, I am going to let you work on your assignment today. And remember, be looking over your notes because you have a test coming up Wednesday. And good luck.